All right. Away we go. Thanks for coming on board, Caleb.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you today.
Yeah, you too. So I'm just going to run you through a quick summary of how the AI Avenue programs have been set up. We actually believe that amplifying human potential with AI is the best way for us to go forward, not have AI dominate, swarm us and consume us and suck the life out of us. I think that it works better when the humans and AI are working together. So that's a big part of what we want to do with everybody. What we're seeing, so we're running these programs out in the market, and what we're seeing as we talk to people that come into our workshops, and then also people that are just in the market in general trying to figure it out, we feel that most people are either misusing it, they might be using it in a way a little bit like Google search. It might get some things wrong, and then they sort of have a different feeling about it. They might be underusing it as well, in terms of, what is the power capability for these platforms, but mostly it's misunderstood. And so what we find just in general is that between those things of misuse, underuse, and being misunderstood, it creates confusion, and the confusion kills the adoption. And that's where people kind of stop. They're a bit of a deer in the headlights, and then therefore they don't adopt to these tools, and then therefore they stay stuck.
Yeah, the results they get aren't optimal because of the way they're interacting with it.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because human behavior, people don't really like change that much, right? Yeah. And so when you go in and start learning about some of these tools, it gets uncomfortable, because then you get taken out of your comfort zone, or you'll learn things and you get frustrated. So really important that we're trying to distill the confusion so that we can increase the adaption in the business for everybody involved.
Yeah, if you're not guided through it, it can create some friction for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so from there, we have created this map just because this is where we kind of feel the market is right now. We think the 50% haven't woken up yet to what's available. So they're not even using Chat or Claude or Copilot or Gemini, whichever one of the tools. The next bucket we think is around 30%, which is people potentially with free accounts. They're playing around on the fringes. They're actually using Chat a little bit like Google. So they're sort of transactional in nature in terms of how they're using the tools versus collaborating and deeply conversing with the tools. So they have a limited understanding of how to ask great questions. So that makes up 80% of the market. And I think that the way that we see that 80% is that the 30% bucket is definitely going to grow. So 30% will grow, the 50% may reduce, but we really feel like this 80% is going to stay at 80% for quite some time. And then to get yourself out of that 80% and into the 15% and the last 5%, that's where there's a little bit of commitment that's got to come into learning the tools, learning how to use the tools, getting a little bit uncomfortable, and moving themselves along to the right. So our programs really are designed. We've got 3 stages of the AI Academy in the programs: AI 101, 201, and 301, and they're designed to take people on a flow from the start of the 15% bucket all the way through into the last bucket of the 5%. So in the 15%, we've got people that are paying for their accounts. We've got people setting up their settings in the right way, and they're building things. So they're either building custom GPTs, or they're building agents in Copilot, or spaces in Perplexity, etc. And they're really starting to understand how they can ask better questions and how they can prompt better in order to get better results. And so the programs are designed to make sure that as you sort of climb into the 15% bucket, your new learning chapter begins. And if we can take people along that journey now, some people in that 15% may be past the fundamentals in 101. But there's still a lot to learn and a lot to digest across all the platforms, so that we feel like we've got the right structure in terms of our programs. Once you build the fundamentals in 101 and start to build things in your business in 201, you can then tackle the last bucket, which is then starting to look at full automation and AI tools that then create productivity and efficiency gains at scale. And 301 and the last 5% is not a straightforward bucket to jump into. Automation is nuanced at best. People think that it's a lot easier. There's a lot of people on Instagram telling you how easy it is to build these automations, but it's just not. So we think, though, that if you build fundamentals, build some things in your business, and then get to automation, we've set up the business with a structure and a platform from an AI use and strategy that gets people further along and be able to uncover what's available in the last bucket of 5%. From there, we really sort of had defined this down to 5 keys to unlocking value, and talking about growth mindset and talking about humans. So, and again, we still believe that humans and AI should work together. That's the best results that we can get out of this. Humans have to have a growth mindset. So they have to be curious over fear. They have to be resilient in nature. They have to learn to test these tools, get things wrong, and keep going. And continue to have an open mind as they go through these learning curves. We've also found that not all tools are the same. So, there's not one size that fits all. I use a multitude of different platforms on a daily basis, from Chat to Perplexity to Grok to Gemini, Nano Banana, video creation, image creation. There is so many tools out there. So, and it's not necessarily one size fits all. So there's lots of programs and platforms that we think people should be playing with, even if their business is in an environment where it's just 365 and it's just Copilot. We encourage people to have personal accounts on Chat and personal accounts on Perplexity, or whichever other ones that they feel, because we feel like that's an advantage to them as an individual.
You can leverage them off one another for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Number 3 is asking better questions. So understanding, and this is really interesting actually, when you start to ask questions a different way. So not a one-line sentence to give me an answer, but hey, tool or Chat or Claude or whichever one, work with me as I try and solve this problem. Can you work alongside me? Let's build the information together. And then let's work beside each other as we collaborate. So asking better questions is certainly very, very, very key to unlocking value. And then through the programs, we actually get people to build things. So we want people to learn how to fish.
Yeah.
So we don't want to just give them the fish. We want to teach them how to fish. So when we teach people how to fish, that gives them the self-reliance to be able to build things further on from what they learn in our workshops. So as they leave our workshops and they come out and they've got more skills, they'll be able to continue to build further on from that. But learning to build is critical, because it really gets your tools and your platforms designed and set up in a way that serve you and the business that you're working for. So building is really important to get the best from these platforms. And
it's all customizable. So no matter where you are in the org, what your role is, you can build it specifically for your role.
Correct. And then once people have learned to build through 101, they've learned to build stuff in 101. Then in 201, we actually then start to build an actual virtual org chart. So we look at departmental roles. We look at custom GPTs designed for a department. We look at projects within ChatGPT designed for specific things. And again, we can set up Copilot agents or a Claude project or a Grok project or a Perplexity Spaces.
Gemini has gems, all of them.
That's right. They have gems. And then once you start to, and we've done this in businesses where we build the virtual org chart. Once you do that, what happens is you actually enable those people in those departments to go much faster, and they have much more smarts about them, because then now they're working with an ally right beside them. So there's sort of 5 keys that we think are critical to unlocking value. Transactional versus conversation is super interesting to me, because if we go back to the buckets, the 50% or the 30% we feel are using these platforms in transactional nature, which is they're still stuck in a Google mode, asking one-line questions and getting an answer. And that's fine to use them that way. And I use it that way.
Sure.
But I don't only use it that way. We think the people in the 30% bucket are just using it that way. But the real unlock is when you actually then start to become conversational with the tools. So if you built stuff with the tools that then knows your business and knows you, then you can have those conversations much more poignantly versus just remaining on the left and being transactional in nature. So this is a really important unlock for people to understand. And once they start to understand the conversational part on the back of what they build, they will actually start asking better questions as a result. But super critical, we think, for that. Across the platforms, most people don't do this, but all of the platforms have the ability to customize the settings. And it's a really important step that people miss. And if you do that, like for instance, so this is a screenshot of a Chat GPT settings in their backend. So, what should it call you? What do you do? What traits should GPT have? So it's asking you what traits you want it to have. Right. So, and again, it's just like taking the time to actually, and even if you're struggling to fill this out, open up another browser window and work with a tool to ask you some questions about how you should be answering and filling out these parts of the settings, and get the tool to ask you the questions so that you can converse with it, and then maybe get the summary, pull it into here, and then set up your settings.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. When you say, this is what I do, this is my role, how should I set up the back-end system so that I can get the best output? And it will help you through that one by one.
Yeah, that's right. Now, these settings in chat, that means then that's what's the blanket context to your whole account. So every chat that you have, every GBT, custom GBT project or whatever it is, has already got this as a contextual layer to all the interactions that you're going to have. We're going to build stuff in custom GBTs and we're going to build stuff in projects, but it's already working on the context of, I know who you are because you've taken the time to tell me. And most people miss this, which is extraordinary.
It's huge, and it's fundamental to using these tools.
It is. So from there, we then, this is a diagram that illustrates some of the methodology that we would take when we build and again, this is either a custom GBT, or it's a Copilot agent, or it's a Grok project, or it's a Claude project, or whatever, like a Google Gem. What we've done is we've developed over time a methodology around building a custom GBT with 4 layers. So this is obviously in the learn to build piece. Layer 1 is a brain foundation layer. So we built 5 modules, and this happened about 6 months ago. I was actually down a rabbit hole, and I asked Chat, if I'm going to keep building custom GBTs, because I'd already built about 30 of them, how can I be better at this? And what do you think, if I was going to build a base layer, what do you think the modules should be? And then help me put those modules together. So Chat then went and helped me build this layer of the foundation layer. And what this does is it sets a platform for the custom GBT to have an architecture, personality, a memory, the voice, and then the thinking engine baked into it. And a really good way to understand whether this is valuable or not. And so 2 weeks ago, I went back into Chat, because Chat 5 had come out, all these updates, etc. And I loaded the 5 documents in from layer 1 from the brain foundation, and I asked Chat the question, do you think these are still valuable when I'm building custom GBTs? Tell me. And it came back and said, absolutely yes. And here's the reasons why I think that they're useful. And when we build stuff for people in the workshops, we actually go through that exercise. We give them the base foundation documents, and then we get everybody to ask that question and read the answer.
A key, yeah.
Read the answer. As a human, read the answer. Okay, do we think that that's right? From there, we go into layer 2. we look at putting the business plan and commercial targets together. And again, if people don't have this solidified or it's not up to date or whatever it is, we can spend a bit of time to help them solidify their business plan so that it does get up to date, and their commercial targets are up to date, so we can bake those in. So it's got the plan, got the targets. We then teach them how to then go out and collect industry reports based on their industry and their business. And we might go and collect that from Perplexity. We might do a deep research project in Chat GPT or Copilot. And we go and collect industry reports. We look at those PDFs. Say, for instance, we got 3 PDFs that were industry reports. We might collect those 3, bring them back into Chat or into Claude or whichever one. Synthesize these 3 industry reports, pull out the key pieces that are relevant to our business, and then put it into one document. And then you load your industry context into the Custom GPT. Super important. We then go and do a similar thing from a competitor perspective. So you might have 3 or 4 competitors in your industry. Go through, get their URLs, do a process where you get a deep research report on those competitors, and you'll get a great one from Perplexity. You can even write the prompt in Chat for Perplexity to go and get the deep research report on this competitor, end up with 3 or 4 single competitor reports, and again, take all those 4 reports, synthesize them into one,
and then upload that.
And then upload that. Then you've baked in your full competitor analysis into the GPT, into the Custom GPT. The advisory board is the last one on this level. And again, we do a similar thing. And this is extraordinary. You can build a virtual board in your business. Go and build me the profiles of the chairman, the CTO, the CFO, the CMO, whatever it is.
Sure.
Build me the profile in detail of these people with 25 years experience in my industry. And with
the guardrails. Yeah.
That's right. And so then you build this intelligence at an advisory board level. Again, you might get 3 or 4 reports, synthesize them into one board document, which collates all of them together and bake that one in. Once we built that layer in on top of 1 and 2, we then go to role and department specific. So then it might be department OKRs, overview of SOPs, detailed job descriptions, or it might be marketing plans, or it might be sales targets, or whatever it is. Whatever it is that's relative to that role or department, we would layer in it layer 3.
And you would continuously update these with the business as the business changes targets or updates goals, right?
Super important to keep your brains clean.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
if you don't update your brains, they'll get off base on you. Yeah. The last layer then is building instructions and a description. So a 2,000 character set of instructions, and then a 300 character description. And then once people build this custom GPT for themselves, we then, as we activate it, we'll go back into the custom GPT and have a full conversation about and we'll ask questions like, tell me about yourself. What do you know? What don't you know? Are there any gaps in your knowledge? Is there anything that you think that you're missing? So right now in this structure, we've got 13 documents with instructions and a description. You can put another 7 documents in on top of the 13. So 20 documents can go into here. But you can see, if you take this layered approach, what you do is you really start to build intelligence and contextual awareness about you and the business. And they become absolute weapons for the business, right? So super important. And so we do this in session 101. And then when we go into 201, we build this across the whole business. It's phenomenal. Like, it's phenomenal what we can build across all the departments. So from there, this sort of gives a sort of an overview of how we would take people through. So we were just talking about building a custom GPT. We build the first one in 101. So in 101, we make sure that we've got our settings set up. We look at the other platforms. We play around with the other platforms as well. Like, in the workshop, we're live. It's not a workshop where you sit back and take notes. This is a workshop where you've got your laptop open and you're doing stuff, right? So when we start building setting capability in the platform that we're using on that particular day, people have got their computers open and they're putting it in there. Like, it's live, roll up your sleeve, come with an espresso, and away we go. Or 2. And then, so from from the settings, we go through some prompting. We get people to understand how you can build some great prompts to ask better questions. And then we start building Custom GPT. So at the end of 101, they've already started to build stuff and they've got momentum. And I will say that in Workshop 101, I believe the ROI is within the first hour. And it's like a 4-hour workshop. It's like in the first hour, they're getting value, they're rethinking how they're going to use these tools, etc. And they're already getting on with it. From 101, we go into 201, which is we then start to build the knowledge bases across the business. So anything that we missed in 101 that we now think, oh, that might be good to load those into business intelligence or roles specific or departments specific, we'd build them in 201. And again, this is a full day's workshop where everyone's got their laptop open and we're building stuff. Like everyone's building stuff. Is how we put that together. And then obviously at the end of that day, then the whole business has now suddenly got the ability to lean into their custom GPTs or their projects or their agents or their whatever it is, and start conversing with these tools in a way that actually gives them so much more value, so much more quickly. From 201, we then might look at 301 with the business. And we think that this is super important. So you built the foundations in 101, you built some stuff in your business. Now let's build an AI strategy that bolts into your current business plan. And your current business plan may get upgraded once you build all this intelligence.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right. So, and it probably should. But within that business plan or alongside that business plan, I think I would like to see in businesses that they've got their business plan and they've got an AI plan running in parallel. Is kind of what
they
I
go
would
hand
like.
in hand. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and I kind of like, in my mind, I think that they are separate, but they coexist. But I think it's really important for people to get very clear on what their AI strategy is and how they plan to execute on that strategy, right? So part of the strategy might be going, okay, we're going to review the business plan. We're going to review all the performance. We're going to look at all the areas where we think there's productivity and efficiencies gained. And we're going to then deploy some projects where we build automations on the back of the infrastructure that we built. We might look at data streams. We might look at certain things that we think are going to have huge value quickly and try and bake those automations into the business. That is definitely more complex in nature,
right?
And it's bespoke, and it would come down to really a collaboration between us and the business and the senior team in the business, because they know the business way better than we do. We're just facilitating how we might be able to put the glue together to stick those things together. And that, we sort of got asked the other day, which is why that we've got the retainer support in the middle. Someone said to us, well, what do we do in between? My thought is between 101 and 201, really it's a month, maybe it's 2 months, but it would be no longer than that, I think.
You want to keep that momentum moving. Yeah,
because sometimes what we've found has happened is they go into 101, they come out of 101 and they actually realize how much they don't know and they're deer in the headlights again.
Right.
So, shit, I realized, I didn't know any of this stuff, and they've got to just muck in and start using tools. So we're building retainer support mechanisms now in between the modules if people want to uptake on that, which would be touch points, getting people back into like an online, meet scenario. They're sharing their wins, their struggles, their challenges, and all that sort of stuff, and doing it in an open forum, because then we'll all learn off each other more effectively, because some people have a win over here, some people have a win over there, and someone's getting stopped here, and we should shut that down and not use it potentially,
Sure. And you have different vehicles for teaching and sharing this information, right?
Well, I think the retainers, and that shareable concept would be really in a retainer that happens on a cycle within the month between the teams, where we either set up a WhatsApp group or some sort of mechanism to chat, so there's conversation going on that's continual, and then setting up an environment where we log in, do a session for a couple of hours, we share, what do you got, and even in that, I found doing those types of sessions, I learn so much, because then people are like having mistakes and they're having problems. God, I have them all the time. We'd be also sharing in that situation as well. Like, so we would share as well, because we're still continuing to learn and grow from this as well. And that's kind of like how we've structured things. That's how we think that it makes sense to take people through that. And we think that there's huge opportunity, because there's a lot of people with deer in the headlights, and they all need a little bit of support and help.
They just get stuck in the mud and they don't engage. Yeah.
That's it. Very good. All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Take care. All right, we'll see you.
All right. That went a bit longer.
How long was that?
Well, we've been on the. Oh, hang on. No, that's the time. I don't know.
Okay.
Does it stop recording?